let's try this again. Hey guys, it's Sarah, and I'm coming in really quick just to piggyback on the breastfeeding and keto. I asked you to go in the other room, please. The breastfeeding and keto video that I made yesterday, the day before. Well, I made it a few weeks ago. Because I wanted to come in really quick, and I promise I'm not turning my channel into keto and breastfeeding, but I think it's really important. And when I was researching those two things, there wasn't a whole lot of information. It's funny. I mean, there was, but there wasn't. Not a super lot of videos, though. I watched some. So I wanted to give you my top 10 tips for breastfeeding and keto. Breastfeeding while doing keto. These aren't anything that are miraculous or sparkling or just the most amazing thing you've ever heard, but I do think these are the 10 things that are important. And I think that if you will watch other videos, you will find that they are all basically very, very similar. So I'm going to go from 1 to 10. I'm just going to jump in really quickly. The very number one thing is hydrating and keeping your electrolytes up. So electrolytes really should be what it is, and not just hydrating. Just yesterday, even though I knew I was going to make this video, I had a good friend. So we just found out that Edie has double ear infection and thrush, which makes sense because I've been having very, very, very painful breastfeeding experiences the last 2 weeks. I thought it was from teething. Turns out I've got thrush, which, by the way, awful. Really awful, considered giving breastfeeding up. That's how awful it was. So, a good friend of mine, I was discussing it with her, and she was like, she reached out on this mommy group. There's one particular mom. She's in school to be a lactation consultant. The school's actually more difficult. Anyways, she was telling me that just last week, did you see where she posted that? That she had just found out that everybody constantly pushes water to increase your water when you are a breastfeeding mother, but it's not about water, it's about electrolytes. And so there are different ways and forms that you can get that. There's all kinds of supplements, there's all kinds of Ketorade drinks. If you Pinterest Ketorade or electrolyte drinks on Pinterest or Google it, you will pull up tons of stuff. The thing that I have found that I enjoy the most has been Powerade Zero. I have made some Ketorade drinks, like electrolyte drinks, in the past as well, but the Powerade Zeros are on sale for 69 cents, and my husband bought me a boatload. I am now where I don't drink one every day. In the beginning, I drank one every day, as much as I could get, but now I just drink one a couple times a week. I know a lot of people who will get up in the morning, the first thing they do is drink their electrolyte drink, and this is people who aren't breastfeeding, but just in general. I tend to be someone who holds on to lots of sodium and water. I retain a lot of fluid, so I try not to overdo it on the electrolyte drinks, but I do think it's important. I think that's probably the biggest number one tip that I can give to you if you are considering doing keto while breastfeeding. Number 2, make sure that you have a backup milk storage. Right after I started doing keto again for the second time, Edie was around 6 months old. I started again around 4 months old. It just didn't pan out. And I'm sorry, my boob's hurting from the thrush. For the medicine. About 4 months old. And I realized then that I was starting to get really upset. And my best friend said, I don't understand why you're upset. She said, I fixed to doctor my boob right here on the video. I gotta do things when I have time. Edie's asleep. Don't you have milk supply? Why aren't you using that? That was huge and a huge game changer for me. Now, Edie would take a bottle from time to time. Very rarely. She didn't take them a lot. Never had to in the beginning. Very often. But I did encourage her to do so. And it is unbelievable. That was a huge game changer for me. Just knowing, and she didn't get it every day, but just knowing that was an option for me made me feel really good. Knowing that if I did have a day where my milk supply was down or dropped some, that I had this milk stored up that I could give her a bottle. And she did take one from me. She take it from me, she take it from Ed, she take it from anybody. She loved to eat and always has. And so, yeah, it was. I'm telling y'all, besides the electrolytes, that is my number one because it was such a stress relief. Just having that stored up, and I am not great at pumping, but one of the things that I did do about 3 months of age, when she was about 3 months of age, is I purchased a hookah pump. So it's just a little silicone pump. I probably should get that out and show it to you. Um, and in the middle of the night feedings, while I was nursing on one side, I would hook that up to the other side, squeeze it really tight, and it would catch some of the, what's that called? When it's falling while you're nursing? Letdown. It would just catch some of the letdown on the other side. All the milk I have, except for like maybe 10 bags, maybe 6 bags, really, probably not even 10, has all been from that. Middle of the night pumping every night. I did it. I don't do it anymore, just because she's back in this phase. We have a lot of sleep regression. We're not sleeping well, and so she's getting up and nursing several times a night, so I don't do it anymore. But yeah, I cannot tell you all the milk that I got was from there. And I don't go a lot of places. I don't do a lot of things, so having that extra just in the fridge, we've been using it. We're actually getting low on a supply because I have been going to like an exercise class and things. But that has been so beneficial that on those especially in the beginning, those first like couple weeks when I was getting back on track, and I'd have a low supply day, it was fine. I could just give her a bottle. So there's that. Number 3 would just to be nurse often. I know people like to get on a schedule and they like routine, but the thing that I have found that has been the most helpful for me and Edie, and things you read will also tell you this, is just to allow them to nurse as much and as often as they want, because that really will build up your supply more than anything. So I think nursing often, having the breast milk storage, having lots of electrolytes, all 3 are the most important things. Number 4, I also think I know people who do it right out of having a baby. I also know people who were keto the whole pregnancy. And so if you were keto with your pregnancy, as soon as this baby comes out, I think it's fine to remain keto. I couldn't do it during my pregnancy, so I waited, I put it off, and, I try to start back at different levels, different times, months ahead. I think that you are best if you wait till your baby is fully established and your nursing is in a good place. I would wait somewhere between 3 and 6 months, probably more like 4 to 6. When I started, I had also started baby food with her. We didn't do baby food very long with either one of my kids. They just weren't huge fans of it. We have now moved to table food, and she gets 3 meals a day of table food, and sometimes a snack. Sometimes, depending on where we are, lunchtime is not always lunchtime. Sometimes it's a little like late afternoon snack. It just depends on our day, but we typically do 3 meals a day, and then she nurses around that. So that was helpful for me. The struggle with the low milk supply, even in the beginning, quickly faded as soon as we got a routine going. But her being able to eat have other sources of nourishment also was very helpful and beneficial. So I think that's great. Number 5, tracking. I think it's really important to track. I hate to track. That's my least favorite thing to do. And as a new mom, as a breastfeeding mom, as a mom of multiples, you don't always have the time to sit down to track. But I think it's really important, just especially in the beginning, so okay, if I eat this today, that has a little bit higher carbs. Maybe I need to eat this way, for the rest of the meals for the rest of my day. Anyways, I think that's really, really important. That would be number 5. Number 6 is plan ahead. I also found as a mom, a new mom, breastfeeding mom, mom of multiples, if you plan ahead, because keto is not cheap, and you can watch those videos. It will tell you about how to eat cheaply on keto. There are things that you can do, as I call survival keto, which I will say I find myself being in a lot. There are things you can do, ways you can eat that are cheaper than others, but keto's not cheap, and it's also not easy when you are cooking for a family if nobody else is going keto, and it's also not easy just there's a lot of prep work involved. If you there can be a lot of prep work involved. There doesn't have to be, but there absolutely can be, especially if you make the keto breads or the keto treats, or you're just trying to, one of the things I have done with my family, and I think I mentioned this on the other video, is we've been trying to eliminate lots of sugar and carbs in everyone's diet. So we've been making alternative things, and that has really been time consuming. And there are absolutely days where Oz gets a Pop-Tart because, I don't always have time to get up and make the keto loaf, or get up and make, French bread for everyone with the keto bread, or I don't have time to, sometimes we don't have time to make eggs and bacon, So there are, I think planning ahead for the week, having an idea in your head of what you're going to make, being able to track that, I think it's really, really, really important. And I also find beneficial if I track at the beginning of the day all my meals, knowing like if I know ahead of time what I'm going to eat. Sometimes that helps keep me on board. Number 7. Eat supply raising foods. So eating those foods. So there's a huge list. You can find it anywhere about things that help increase your supply. Some of those things that you cannot have while you're eating keto would be oatmeal. And I don't know about brewer's yeast. I quit doing brewer's yeast pretty early on because I realized that was one of the things that was making Edie yak. Only because after I was eating it in spoonfuls. But I would guess that brewer's yeast probably has a higher carb content. Now, in saying that, I do know some people who allow themselves to have oatmeal a couple times a week just to keep their supply up. But I'm going to run through really quickly some keto-friendly things that also increase your supplies. So, flaxseed, garlic, fennel, which I can't stand fennel, nuts, ginger, sesame seed, any kind of oils, any kind of butter, especially so keto oils will be avocado oil, coconut oil, butter, olive oil, avocado is another good one, and dill. I put dill and seasoned salt on everything. Also, pink Himalayan salt is really good, and it obviously will help with some electrolytes. So those are some things that I know that I try to have. Spinach is another one. Some non-carb, low-carb friendly options would be, well, they're low-carb friendly, but they're not, and healthy friendly, but they're not keto friendly, would be like carrots, sweet potatoes, and oatmeal. All those things, very important. I got to hurry up because I'm almost 13 minutes in. Number 8, I think it's also really important to find breastfeeding and keto support groups. So there is a breastfeeding and keto support group on Facebook. If you need help finding that, let me know. Sometimes people have ideas, though. Those keto police get crazy. There's also just breastfeeding support groups that you might find. And really, my best friend was a breastfeeder, but nobody else in my family was. But just having her around to ask questions was really important. Talking to the La Leche people have been really important. And keto, just in general, just having people that you can talk to about keto and what they do and they don't and things that they have seen. But there are some groups on Facebook. There's some other videos on YouTube. Look those up, talk to people, get some help, get some support, because people are really willing to help you once they get this thing down track. Just ease into it. And I kind of talked about this in the other video too. That was one of the things that I did. Again, I'm trying to hurry, talk really fast. Was that I just let myself ease into this. I started out, doing 100 carbs, and I went down to 80, and then I kind of did 50, and then I slowly got myself down to 20. Number 10, give yourself grace. It takes time. It's a learning process, especially if you've never done keto before. If you have and you know what you're doing, it's a little easier, but things are different, and you'll have good days and bad days. That's exactly how I feel. We have good breastfeeding days and bad breastfeeding days. But now that I've been in this for about 13 weeks, it's gotten a whole lot easier. And it is doable. It is doable. And that's what I want you to know. You can absolutely eat keto and absolutely breastfeed successfully your baby. Okay, guys. If you have questions, leave them for me down below. And I will talk to you later. Bye.